What says Halloween quite like a jack-o'-lantern? One of the most popular activities during spooky season in the States is to carve a pumpkin to light the way for souls or to ward off evil. But how did this tradition start? You may have heard bits and pieces of its lore, but today we're digging deep and it gets a bit sinister. We'll even meet a few of Jack Skellington's Pumpkin King predecessors along the way. But first, let's travel back to the roots. Before there was Halloween, there was Samhain, a tradition that is still practiced today. During this time of the year, the veil between the living mortal realm and the beyond is said to be thinnest, allowing spirits to walk among the living. This was both welcome to some and a bit scary for others. So, in older Celtic traditions, the living would wear masks to scare off evil presences, as well as carve out root vegetables to look like horrific faces for the same purpose. Flashing forward to Ireland and the Scottish Highlands in the 19th century. During this time period, turnips, potatoes, and mangel-wurzels, a type of beet, were commonly hollowed out and used as lanterns. Sometimes these gourds were carved with ghoulish faces to allow the light to shine through, and a piece of coal or a candle was placed inside for illumination. And my oh my, are they rather creepy looking. Now, for fans of Howl's Moving Castle, imagine, if you will, this is what the original turnip head actually looked like in the book. Nightmarish, right? Well, the book makes it creepier, trust me. This practice of carving spooky and frightening faces on fruits and vegetables dates back again to those Celtic traditions, where things take a turn for the sinister. You see, the Celts carved the produce to resemble real faces. Faces that represented the decapitated heads of the foes they had conquered, which makes this practice seem extra grim. Now, more commonly, these creepy ghostly turnips, as well as the prankish nature of Halloween time, originated from the folktale of one Stingy Jack, perhaps the true Pumpkin King in a sense. According to the legends, Stingy Jack, also known as Flaky Jack, was a mean blacksmith and quite a shifty fellow who invited the devil to have a drink with him, as you apparently do. That crafty Jack, true to his stingy moniker, wanted to avoid paying for the drinks, so he somehow tricked the devil into transfiguring into a coin. But instead of using the coin to pay for the drinks, Jack slipped it into his pocket. Unclear on how the drinks were paid for after that stunt. Anyway, Jack also sneakily placed a silver cross in his pocket as well, which prevented the devil from changing back into his corporeal form. I assume the devil gave Jack no peace and kept pestering him because eventually Jack made a deal with the devil, that he would release him under the condition that the devil agreed to leave Jack alone for the period of 1 year. If Jack would die during that time, the devil would be unable to claim his soul. The devil accepted these terms and went on his wicked way. The following year, Jack decided to stick to his old tricks and used another tactic to dupe the devil. It seems Jack likes flirting with danger. He dared the devil to climb a tree, and once the devil was high enough within the branches, Jack carved a cross into the bark. The devil was trapped in the tree, and so Jack struck another deal. This time, the devil would not bother Jack for 10 years. Once again, the devil agreed. Why, I don't know. I thought the devil was supposed to be the best at striking bargains, but Jack, it seems, is a true master. Or this devil was just really gullible. Anyway, shortly after this bargain, Jack passed away. Upon his passing, as the story goes, God refused to allow Jack and his unsavory behavior into the gates of heaven. Meanwhile, the devil was understandably angered by all of Jack's mischief and barred Jack from hell as well. Also, technically, he couldn't collect Jack's soul anyway because of the terms of the bargain. Instead, he banished Jack and sent him to wander the earth, accompanied only by a piece of burning coal, which is hot to hold, so Jack placed it in a hollowed turnip to more easily transport it. He still wanders with nowhere to go, banished from both heaven and hell. This ghoulish figure became known as Jack of the Lantern and eventually shortened to Jack-o'-lantern, which we know today. But there's more! Another variation comes from an article published in the Dublin Penny Journal in 1835. This tale involves Jack once again, and he is still up to his devilish deeds. Surprise, surprise. The article describes an old man walking home from a wake with his nephew. The pair encounter flickering lights in the foggy horizon. Although the nephew provides a scientific explanation for the phenomenon, the uncle instead claims that the light is due to Jack, and goes on a tangent. In the uncle's telling, this particular instance, Jack, out of character from what we've seen so far, benevolently saves an old man from the perils of the moors. But surprise! After being rescued, the old man transforms into an angel, who rewards Jack with 3 wishes. Jack, always the troublemaker, first asks that anyone who dares to sit in his favorite chair becomes stuck in place. For his second and third wishes, he requests that anyone who defaces his beloved sycamore tree or steals his tool set likewise become glued to these objects. Although thoroughly repulsed by Jack's request, the angel agrees, but as far as pranks goes, these are kind of funny. Strong Golden Goose vibes for sure. Once again, Jack's actions prevent him from being accepted into heaven. The devil deploys a series of demons to try to capture Jack, and of course, one by one he evades and outwits them. Demon after demon and even Satan himself all succumb to Jack's trickery, becoming stuck to his preferred chair, in his beloved tree, and to his tools. Jack eventually graciously releases the demons from his traps. However, after this stunt, our daredevil is no longer welcome in hell, of course. Instead, he is cast away to roam the earth for all eternity, guided only by the flickering flame of a single piece of coal, which he again puts into a hollowed-out root vegetable. As the lore grew, people began to create their own grotesque carvings which allowed light to shine through. By placing a candle or coal inside, these lanterns were lit and placed in windows or on doorways to ward off evil spirits, and even Jack himself. Since lanterns were pricey during this time period, particularly ones made of steel, many people used materials that were readily available to create their own versions, and so the use of jack-o'-lanterns became widespread. As Irish people immigrated to America, they brought this tradition with them. They realized that one of the most popularly cultivated crops in America, the pumpkin, was easily conducive to carving, and as a result, we have the modern Americanized jack-o'-lantern, which in turn carved the way for our favorite modern Jack, the Pumpkin King, to that guy in Kentucky, Mr. Unlucky himself. It's easy to see Stingy Jack's spooky prankster influence in Jack Skellington. But in other popular culture, perhaps the most widely known and terrifying use of the jack-o'-lantern occurs in Washington Irving's classic tale, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. There, the antagonist, Brom Bones, pretends to be the horrifying Headless Horseman, an infamous warrior rumored to haunt the Sleepy Hollow area. Brom waits until the witching hour and chases poor Ichabod Crane on horseback to the afeared churchyard, then hurls his head, a fiery carved pumpkin, at the extremely superstitious Crane in an attempt to scare him off for good. It works. I must say, Brom channels old Jack-o'-the-lantern spirit for theatrics and pranks quite well. Bravo, Brom. The jack-o'-lantern may be carved with a grotesque face to ward off evil spirits and lost souls, but it also serves as a cautionary tale of morality and the consequences associated with deception. With this lore in mind, you may want to think twice before picking out your pumpkin this Halloween spooky season, because you may be using it for all eternity. But seriously, not gonna lie, that sounds like a very cool option for immortality if it were viable, and of course not evil. Likewise, beware of a sudden fog or any flickering lights, as they may be an ominous warning that Jack-o'-the-lantern looms. But what are some of your favorite pumpkin and/or Halloween and spooky season traditions? What's the best pumpkin you've ever carved? Let me know in the comments below. And speaking of traditions, I'm gonna go watch Nightmare Before Christmas for the billionth time and make my cats costumes that they will forever resent. This is no trick. Be sure to subscribe for the next spooky treat of a video coming out of the cauldron quite soon. Goodbye!